A plane full of passengers crashed into the seafloor, but not a drop of seawater seeped into the cabin, and the passengers were lucky to be unharmed. But they didn't know that the plane was at a depth of 100 meters in the ocean, and it wouldn't take long for the oxygen in the cabin to be depleted. What's even more frightening is that the plane's communication equipment is no longer able to receive signals, which means they can't call for help at all, but can only wait for their deaths in this small space. As time passes by, the passengers' sense of crisis is gradually approaching. Some are in tears of despair, others are unconscious due to lack of oxygen. The situation is getting more and more serious. Instead of sitting on the ground and waiting for death, they should give up their lives. At this point, the captain made a last resort decision. He wanted to send a signal receiver to the surface of the sea so as to send out a distress signal. Only in this way there will be a possibility of survival. But 100 meters deep under the sea, there is a huge amount of water pressure, and the degree of danger can be imagined. So in order to complete the operation as much as possible, the co-pilot also came forward at all costs. Then the two of them to take protective measures and then close the steel door connected to the cabin to prevent the influx of seawater. But things are far from simple. The captain tried to open the door by electric power, but did not realize that the electric circuit had been shorted. However, just as he was in the process of repairing the door, suddenly a huge amount of water pressure broke through the door and swarmed up to the cabin at once. The water level in the cabin rose rapidly. The co-pilot fainted on the spot under the impact of the powerful impacts. Fortunately, the captain was not hurt, but did not expect the oxygen tanks ruptured, resulting in a rapid loss of oxygen. The captain had no choice but to throw away the oxygen tanks and hold his breath as he struggled to open the package in the water, letting the signal receiver follow the valve as it gradually slid upward, and then he began to climb upward as hard as he could. Finally, with the captain's fearlessness and perseverance, he managed to reach the surface of the sea from a depth of 100 meters. Although he was already physically and mentally prepared at this time, he did not dare to delay at all and quickly climbed up to the valve and immediately sent out a distress signal. At this time, the warplanes patrolling the surface of the sea discovered the scene and immediately reported the news to the top management. After determining the location of the senior management, immediately arranged for the patrol fleet to go to the rescue. Soon they found the captain's figure, immediately released an airboat into the water in a short while the captain successfully escaped from danger. The captain then told the captain that the plane had crashed into the sea, and the captain immediately sent a large number of rescuers to the bottom of the sea to rescue the passengers. However, when the rescue team went to the bottom of the sea, was dumbfounded. The hatch could not be opened from the outside of the fuselage. Under the enormous pressure of the seawater, even if it could be opened without any protection, the passengers would be drowned alive. When the captain learned the news, he couldn't help but suck in a mouthful of oxygen. But by now the people in the cabin were already suffering from a severe lack of oxygen, and it was clear that they didn't have a lot of time left. The fleet immediately called an emergency meeting, and after discussing the safety of the plane, they had to salvage it. Immediately after the rescue team, once again deep under the sea, they arranged dozens of gas around the aircraft, and then from the bottom with a rope connected to the airbags, and finally to the inflatable pump, and so on. After the completion of this series of operations, the rescue team immediately returned to the surface of the other end of the inflatable tube to the inflatable pumps. Under the captain's approval, dozens of valves opened all at once with the continuous output of the inflatable pump, only to see the air belt slowly rose in a short while all filled and gradually rise with the aircraft. Soon the plane surfaced on the surface of the sea. Rescue team immediately launched a speedboat. Rescue passengers also rushed to open the doors to breathe fresh air. However, just when everyone was celebrating, they did not realize that another danger was approaching. At this time, the ropes, due to the excessive weight, began to break one by one. Unaware of the crowd is still working hard to escape. At that moment, the last rope at the rear of the plane suddenly snapped, and the passengers who were just about to step out of the door were thrown back into the cabin in an instant. Without traction, the plane began to sink, and a huge amount of seawater poured